Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. My name is Louis Mendes. Hope you guys are all good on your Sunday morning. On today's show, we'll be looking back at yesterday's very creditable 1-1 draw down at Southampton, and of course, ahead to Tuesday's massive game with West Bromwich Albion. Joining me to do just that, first up, top right, Mr. Tom Wallin. How you doing, Tom?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. Voice is a little bit up and down, which is either a cold or just singing Zombie by the Cranberries over and over again yesterday. But yeah, enjoyed it. It was a very, very solid point, as you say, yesterday. And good to get back to a performance that looks like a Charlton performance.
Yeah, really, really impressive point from the lads yesterday. Really put their bodies on the line as well to make sure they protected it right at the very end of that game. Also, bottom right, Paul Clements. How you doing, Paul?
Yeah, similarly, good morning, everybody. Happy, really happy. A bit better than Tom, likewise. Sore throat this morning, but I put a drop of honey into some ginger tea, and I'm sure we'll be getting onto the ginger in this pod.
Yeah, we certainly will. And bottom left, fresh off the rail replacement bus service is Tash Everett. How you doing, Tash?
Yeah, in case anyone didn't know, not a fan of South Western Railway. Yeah, I've also got a bit of a croaky throat. I should have done what you did, Paul. That was a very good shout. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get through. We're all falling apart this morning. But yeah, no, in a very good mood still, though, after yesterday. And yeah, happy to be here for once.
Lovely stuff, lovely stuff. So on today's show, then, we'll look back at yesterday's draw with Southampton. We'll hit the goals very shortly. We're going to hear from the Addicts boss, Nathan Jones, who was delighted to get reacquainted with the grass at St Mary's, if not anything else, on the South Coast on his first return to Southampton yesterday. We're also going to hear from the big man. It's Colin Sichenje, made his Charlton debut yesterday. Got a chance to catch up with him after yesterday's game as well. We want to hear from you guys as well. Morning to everyone who's joining us live on the show. Robert's first one in the chat says, morning, all typical Charlton. We lose against Pompey. Where I expected we would get something, and then we draw at Southampton, where I expected a loss. And yeah, that sums us up quite nicely, really, doesn't it? So yeah, give us your thoughts on yesterday's performance. You can email us, studio@charltonlive.co.uk. You can tweet us at Charlton Live, or you can do what Robert and many others have done and go into the live chat and give us your thoughts on yesterday's performance and result, and how you're feeling ahead of West Brom as well. So before we hear the goals, Tom, I should point out as well, those of you watching on the stream will notice I'm in a slightly different location. So I'm in my hotel on the South Coast. We're staying down for a few days. Put lots of planning into, right, are they going to have Wi-Fi? I'm going to be able to do the show. It turns out the answer to all those things is yes. The one thing we didn't think is what time's checkout. So checkout's at 11. So we might end the show at 1 minute to 11 rather than bang on 11, so I can get out of here without being hounded out by the housekeeping staff and stuff. But yeah, we will. Right, Tom. Before we hear the goals, good point. I said at half time, like, the game was probably going the way we kind of would have expected and hoped. I think, like, we knew we were going to try and sit deep and make it difficult for them and be structured and hope that they didn't take the chances that arose. And the chances that did come, I mean, they hit the bar from the edge of the box. It was a good strike. There was a one off the line from Lloyd Jones very early on. I think Azaz and Bree had relatively close range chances that they put over the bar. But if you look at the XG of those chances, they weren't massive. So we were doing what we had to do, went behind early in the first half, then you're fearing the worst. But they battled well, came back into it, and I mean, they put us under a lot of pressure in that added 10 minutes. But to be fair, in terms of big chances, after our equaliser, the only one that comes close to being a big chance was the one that Lyndon Dykes nearly turned around the corner. So overall, a very good point and a pretty impressive display as well.
A really good display, yeah. I don't think we were lucky to go in 0-0 at all. And you're right. I listened back to the end of Thursday's show because I was pretty sure it was what I'd said, but basically said they're going to have all the ball. We're going to have to sit in. We're going to have to, defend our box well and do what, when we've got results this season, do what we're good at. You think back to that Birmingham game last year, the 1-0, where we just soaked up pressure at home constantly and then nicked it. So I thought the 0-0 was thoroughly deserved. Yes, they'd had chances, but as you say, they weren't brilliant chances at all. And when you look at the stats this morning, all of the attacking stats, of course, are in their favour, but all of the defensive ones are in ours. And Greg Doherty and Lloyd Jones are the two players that stand out, despite what the vote on Charlton Twitter says about man of the match. They're the two players that stand out in terms of their performances, and that's because they get blocks in, they hassle, they harry, they do all of that difficult work in the defensive part of the pitch. So we knew that the game was going to play out that way. We predicted it. And I was sort of looking and sort of trying to manage my own expectations and nerves about the game in sort of 10-minute chunks. So it's like, okay, we got through 10 minutes, we haven't conceded. Now it's 20, we haven't conceded. Now it's 30. Now we're getting to half time. And then you go in 0-0 and you think, okay, that's all right. But as soon as they scored, I thought, okay, what do we do when we're 1-0 down? Do we change our shape? Do we keep doing what we're doing? And I was surprised we got back in it from 1-0 down, but I thought we deserved it. We had a good spell there. We got the goal. As you say, could have had another. On another day, could easily have won that game. Of course, could have lost it as well. But then I thought that defensive display at the end, when 10 minutes went up, I went, so this is going to be it then. We're going to play like this all the game, and it's going to be the 101st minute that kills us. But it didn't, and the players didn't get nervous. They stuck to their shape. They worked hard. And thoroughly deserved point, and a big point in the context of some of the other results that happened yesterday, to keep that gap. And as you say, going into a game now where you have to try and go for the 3 points against West Brom, unless they sack the manager in the next day or two. I haven't seen if it's happened yet, but really good performance, and the sort of performance, as I say, we've come to expect from this team. I just wish we'd see it more consistently, because you compare that to the game at against Portsmouth, and it was chalk and cheese.
Yeah, it's funny how things change in a couple of days, isn't it? Well, let's have a listen back to the goals then from Charlton TV. Brownie was alongside Greg and Tell.
Now Manning out to the left-hand side. Sichenje look to take on Ramsey. Cuts inside. Decent ball in. There's a good header towards the near post from Stewart. Too much on it to beat Kaminski. And Southampton take the lead early in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, that was the fear walking back to the seats, wasn't it? Let's hope Saints don't score early in this second half, and they have, and now that changes everything.
From Harwood. Bellis gives Charlton possession as Cody out to left to Amari Bell. Bell will look to take on Bree, goes on the outside, cuts back inside Bell. An opportunity to cross, lays it off for Doherty, edge of the box. To the right is Carey. Carey the strike, and it's gone in! Sonny Carey gets the equaliser for Charlton. Neat build-up play on the left-hand side. Bell inside to Doherty, lays it off for Carey. And his strike had too much power on it, and Peretz couldn't keep it out. And Charlton get the equaliser here at St Mary's.
And it's a wonderful strike using the surface to gather pace. I thought Amari Bell was going to cross that with his right foot, and he's elected to go sideways, and you think Doherty's going to come on and strike that, and he doesn't. He takes a quick touch and he feeds Sonny Carey, who takes a little touch himself. It's an excellent ball from Doherty. You think the touch is actually underneath him and too close, but he doesn't need a lot of time and space, Sonny Carey, to get those shots away. And the back lift is very little, and it's a diagonal across the keeper. I think Peretz will be disappointed he's not done better with this, but that's not our concern. It's a great strike from Carey, using that surface to gather the pace. Charlton are level. Got to be honest with you, that wasn't in my script. Fair play.
Yep, excellent finish from the Ginger Genius. His 8th goal of the campaign, our top scorer, of course. And I mean, I think it's fair for what Brownie said. Like, when we went a goal down in that game, Paul, you were thinking, well, I mean, it's going to be difficult to get back into this one now, because it was quite clear what the game plan and the structure was, to be deep, to be hard to play through, and to try not to give up many chances. But when you go behind, you fear that now you're going to have to come out and express yourselves a little bit more. But it didn't really pan out the way we feared, and we worked our way back into the game, got the goal, and it was a wonderful finish, and then we held on for a really good point.
Yeah, definitely. All down to the structure, really, that Nathan set out, which I think in defence was a 5-2-2-1. So TC dropping alongside Carey, and then Doc dropping a bit deeper alongside Cody, which was really limiting their clear-cut chances. And then on the break, we played a bit more like we have done with Cody in front of the back four, and then a few more bodies up top. So there was always a chance on the break we might get something, but it wasn't TC's best game or best day. He had a couple of really good break opportunities, but didn't really do what was necessary. I think there was one moment in the first half where I was just wishing he'd cut in just a little bit further and then strike a cross goal, and instead he tried to lay it off, and Carey unfortunately didn't quite reach it. So he didn't have a best game, so it needed something to shift in the dynamic. And I thought Leeburn coming on really did do that. They really struggled to get a grip on him. And we know if the ball gets to his feet, he's as competent there as he is now in the air and with his strength in games. So yeah, I think that was quite a big turning point in terms of our threat on the break. And similarly, I mean, when we went a goal down, I really was skeptical that we'd be able to get anything out of the game. I didn't necessarily expect us to lose 2, 3, 4, 5 because our shape was so exceptional throughout the game. I thought that was really, really, really disciplined. But I wasn't sure where it was coming from. And I just think that bit of experience and that bit of skill that Amari Bell showed down the left, the patience to cut back in and then not cross, which everybody would have been expecting him to do, but to lay it off to Doc and then Doc across to our Auburn genius. By the way, he has told me he's Auburn. He's not Ginger. He absolutely protests every time that he's Auburn. But when he did lay it off so neatly, that strike was fantastic, and people can say the goalkeeper should be doing better, but I looked back on it a couple of times last night and it is absolutely curling away from him. It's just what we've become accustomed to him doing around that box. So yeah, terrific strike and a deserved point off it.
Yeah, it certainly was. The way that we actually played the ball through the third, I feel like Lee Byrne had just come on, and I think he held it up really nicely in the build up to the move. And then ended up with Bell going over to the left hand side. I think obviously Doc was involved. Maybe Cody had a touch in that move as well. But it was actually the one of the first bits of real nice controlled football we played in their half. Because when we countered in the first half, Tash, there's probably a little bit more care we could have taken in a couple of moments to really create those proper chances. But it just goes to show that when you have got players like Sonny Carey who can conjure up something out of nothing from the edge of the box, if you can just use that space and just take your time and make the opportunity for him, then we've got a chance of scoring goals. And you know, eight for the season for him. As Paul says, apparently not a ginger genius now, whatever he is, he'd be very pleased with his personal return this campaign.
Yeah, I was very happy for the Auburn genius yesterday because I feel like he needs that as well. You know, I can't remember what game it was now where he had those 2 shots from distance that were just completely, I'm sure he'll admit, were rubbish. So it's good for him to get that back under his belt yesterday. You know, and as well with Dykes, I like that opportunity that he had. Obviously, I think we all knew when the ball came over the top that it was handball, right? I was just hoping that the officials hadn't noticed it. It was a bit unlucky, but that was a great finish. Like I know it was ruled out. It was a great finish. So yeah, those two moments in particular just made me think, yeah, we do have goals in us because and even the Pompey game, obviously Jaden February came out of nowhere and scored that really good goal. So it's moments like that where you think, okay, I am worried a lot of times in games whether we do have the ability to score more than 1 goal. But yesterday, that didn't matter, did it? You know, in a dream world, we'd have gone on and got the win. And we could have done as much as they could have done, more so probably Southampton at the end. But, you know, there are those signs there that we can do that. So, yeah, it's promising. And as you said, Lee Byrne coming on yesterday, they just didn't know what to do with him, did they? Even just from a physical standpoint and helping us keep up the ball, they really couldn't touch him, really, to be honest with you. And also, as we learned at Leicester, the great thing about Lee Byrne is he can win you fouls. nearly got that guy sent off yesterday. I'm sure we'll come on to that with Cody very much playing into the headbutt. I'm going to put in air quotes if it did happen. I didn't see whether it did or not, but yeah, I feel a lot more positive about it. I think I'm sad for TC because I was hoping that it would be a game where, you know, he sort of was getting into it and then obviously he got taken off, and at the time I was like, oh, I hope that's the right decision. Obviously it turned out to be, so happy days. Fair play to Nathan Jones. I think, like, as Paul touched on, some of his decision making, like we had a lot of space on that left hand side yesterday. Like I was stunned by the amount of room we had from like the halfway line up to their goal with TC, like, and obviously he's waiting to look for that pass. It's kind of like, well, do I go for goal? People are going to have a go at me. If I go for goal, then mess it up. Like, obviously tried to lay it off. As Paul said, that didn't pay off. Like, the effort is there. It's just, I think, you know, as Nathan Jones has said himself, it's that belief in him to make the right decision, for him to make the right decision, know he's doing that. So, but yeah, I think, you know, West Brom will tell the tale, won't it? I think, to be honest with you, like those games that we've had with teams down at the bottom of the table, like, we have to be scoring in those games. And if we could do it against the Southampton side and against sides much better to West Brom, no disrespect, throughout the season, then there's no reason we can't do it again on Tuesday. But yeah, I hope that, you know, Carey can continue what he's doing and some of the others can chip in with the goals, because, you know, it's only going to help in the run-in.
Yeah, I mean, Ethan says people get annoyed at Carey for having a shot, but the amount of goals he's scored from chances on the edge or just outside the box could be the difference between us staying up or going down, so don't blame him. Yeah, it's interesting when we listen to what Nathan Jones has to say later on in the show. He does sort of reference about decision making, because there was that game a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember which one it was, where you know, sometimes he made the wrong decision to shoot when perhaps a cross would have been, or a pass would have been the right one. But yeah, and we certainly made the right decision yesterday. I mean, the goal right after half time, again, as Brownie mentioned in the comms there, you know, we'd all seen what happened in the first half. It was, you know, 75% possession for Southampton in that first period. It was always going to be like that. But I mean, Mark makes a point here, like XG divides people, but for all their possession and shots and stuff, when you look at the XG, it sort of tells you what these chances were. So the big chances was the Sichenje volley, which we got off the line. That was a relatively big chance. Obviously, they've hit the bar, but statistically, that's unlikely to go in from the outside the edge of the box. So even though it's gone close, it's not a massive chance. You know, and you look at some of these, that when you actually look at the way the XG adds up, they didn't have massive chances because we were doing a job on them. But when you go behind, you do fear the worst. The manner of the goal itself, I feel like Lloyd Jones, he's got done by a bit of Stewart's movement there. Like, he's sort of stepped out a little bit. And by the time Jones has tried to attack the header, he's probably 3-4 yards away from him. So it's not a great place to be starting from. You know, obviously overall, Lloyd had a great game yesterday. They're clearing off the line and all that sort of thing. But it just goes to show in the Championship, if you lose your concentration for half a second or someone makes a move off of you, then they're going to punish you. And you have to say it was an excellent header from Ross Stewart for them.
It was a brilliant header, and yeah, look, Ross Stewart is a good player at this level. Obviously done it for Sunderland. I think was he 1 in 2, I think, for Sunderland over his time there. So he's a very good striker. We know what he's capable of, and it's not, I don't want to go into the money debate in a huge amount of detail, but their front line are worth probably more than our entire squad, probably more than treble our entire squad. So yeah, it was exactly that. At half time, I said to the guy I was with, we just have to continue to concentrate. And one lapse in concentration and we're done. And that's exactly what happened. I'm not here to criticise Jones, because I agree with you. He had a good game. But yeah, I think on the shots in the first half, I totally agree with you. I think, okay, we got undone by 2 long-range shots against Portsmouth. But them being forced into long shots is not the problem. I was quite happy that they were shooting from distance. The problem against Portsmouth was we didn't close them down, which is what we usually do. And in that first half yesterday, I thought that's the same. The reason that shot hits the bar and doesn't go in is because we've got people throwing themselves in front of it and closing him down and forcing him to take it quickly. So, yeah, Southampton fans might go, it's a bit unlucky, we hit the bar, blah, blah, blah. But I disagree. I think it was because of our defensive shape and energy and all of that sort of stuff is the reason it didn't go in. So it was really not unfortunate. It was just a real shame because we defended so well in that first half. But as I say, that could have been a sucker punch. You know, you do 45 minutes of great work. Nathan Jones is probably just telling them, keep this up, keep concentrating. It's going to be hard work, but you're doing well. And when you get picked off that early, it's very easy for us to then crumble, particularly off the back of a poor performance on Tuesday. And then they go on and their tails are up and finally the crowd wake up and they go on and get 2 or 3 more. But that didn't happen. You know, that didn't happen. We didn't panic. I thought Miles's introduction made a huge difference, as Tash and Paul have said. And then we get our deserved equaliser. So, look, we're going to concede goals at times. We don't concede very many, you know, and let's not forget we conceded 5 against this lot at home when we tried to play more open. So to go from 5-1 to a point is hugely impressive, and they all deserve credit. So, yes, it was a mistake. It's not something they need to dwell on for very long because Jones knows it, and the movement from Stewart was brilliant, and it was a very good header as well. Let's not forget that. You know, we didn't make it easy for him. He made some good movement and put a good header in the back of the net, and a player worth that amount is probably going to do that.
It's interesting. This is why I like this show. Like, obviously, the live chat, there's a couple of people sort of making some suggestions, and there's a good debate going on in the chat. So I'm going to disagree with a couple of people in the chat here. So James is asking, you know, are you sure you aren't letting the result cloud your judgment? I still thought we were very much second best. Great result, yo. I mean, it depends what you define as second best, but clearly we are not going to try and go toe to toe with Southampton down at St Mary's. We tried it at the Valley and it was an absolute disaster. So the way we set out, we were always going to look like the side that was there trying to make it difficult rather than the side that was there to ping it around like Barcelona. And Dom says the same, says 28% possession and 3 shots on target, not much to celebrate there, but we've got a valuable point. If we were going out there trying to go toe-to-toe possession-wise with Southampton, I think we could have done a little bit better on some of those counters in the first half. And we mentioned TC, who I thought did really well to drag us up the pitch quite a few times, but probably should have shot at one point when he tried to slip it into Carey. So we could have done more with some of those moments, but what were we expecting? If we went out there trying to go gung ho at them, Paul, I mean, we saw what happened. We saw what happened last time. It would have been horrible. It would have been a disaster. Joe says that XG can be misleading. We were dogged in the first half and pressured them in parts of the second half. It's a well-earned point. But in the XG in this case, I mean, they're relatively similar. I mean, 1.04 to 0.85. I mean, if you went just off shots, they had 23-6. So it sounds like they were absolutely peppering our goal. But that's why shots isn't necessarily a better indication than XG, because, yeah, they had a lot of shots for sure, but a lot of them were from outside the area. And how many amazing saves did Thomas Kaminski make yesterday? Genuinely, I can't think of any. I mean, I don't think he weren't in a position where he had to make an amazing save. Obviously, Lloyd cleared one off the line. That's why, I mean, this was, as I said earlier in half-time, I was saying this is exactly how we wanted it to go. And we got a really good point out of it.
Yeah, we did get a really good point out of it. And look, we are going to be punching above our weight most of this season on the basis of the budget that we have for our squad, the investments made at this point in time. And it is important to recognise it's at this point in time. So we've just come up via the playoffs. We invested more heavily than we've seen in recent seasons, but comparatively to most squads that have been either in the division for a long period of time or who are still benefiting from parachute payments having come down from the Prem, we've got a tiny budget, comparatively speaking. And so I don't think, well, it's unrealistic to expect that we're going to come up against sides other than perhaps Sheffield Wednesday because of their plight this season, the fact they've been left with a youth team effectively, and hence why their form column has a long row of red L signage. So other than them, we're gonna have a tough game every game, and we're gonna have to expect us to have less control in the game and possession in the game than we would like. But it's because of where we are in our development. And I think if we manage to survive, what's going to be interesting is how much the board then invests next summer. And I think that would be absolutely critical, because we've seen with Oxford United this season, look, they're in real deep trouble, and they survived last year, but their investments and their recruitment has clearly not been what it should be, and they're suffering for it this season. So I think it's perfectly understandable. I really do. I mean, like yesterday, it was so obvious tactically what we were trying to do and to maintain the shape and to work exceptionally hard. And there were 3 big green ticks in those boxes, and the team deserve a lot of credit for that. So I think we've just got to manage ourselves and expect a lack of free-flowing football, a lack of very many entertaining games compared to what we would like. Arguably, Ipswich away was one of those that was really entertaining and really exciting, and we came away with a fantastic win and a few goals in the game. But let's just recognise where we are as a club and as a team now in the Championship, and the fact that we are 17th with a good few teams below us that have invested far more heavily and benefited from parachute payments in last 3 or 4 seasons. I mean, it's huge credit to Nathan and the boys. And what I love, I mean, the away games, sometimes at home it can get a bit frustrating because there's more of us and there's an expectation perhaps being at home, etc., that is higher than away. But at the away games, there is such a positive spirit and I think recognition of what the team are doing on the pitch, and we're all together and it feels really good. It's unified and we want the best for the team, and they're trying to deliver the best for us, as I say, with relatively limited resources. So fair play, and the next big one is upcoming on Tuesday, and we've got to prove again that despite the fact we've got a much smaller budget, we're up for the fight and wanting to take points away from another team that is in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, the away support yesterday was excellent again. Really, we were sat in the press box. We were sort of opposite where the away end was, but you barely heard the Southampton fans. You heard them once at the start of the game to slag off Nathan Jones, and then towards just after they scored, the same song about Nathan Jones, and then there was a bit of a low hum of when the Saints go marching in, when they were trying to sort of put us under pressure in that disgusting 10 minutes of added time, which my heart was really going at that point. But they put their bodies on the line, to be fair, and did what they had to do. And again, major chances in that 10 minutes wasn't really any, was there? Anthony says, good to hear Doc getting praised. He's a proper skipper. He appears to, in gaps, to snuff out potential problems in it. I mean, he did his role yesterday, didn't he, Tash? Like, that's the perfect sort of game for him, really, isn't it? For Doc in that midfield to run around and spoil and do what he had to do, and he got the assist for the goal as well.
Yeah, I think, God, if we learned anything from that first game against them earlier in the season, is that don't let your midfield get overrun. And yesterday we didn't do that. We were much better in that department. Were we in charge? Probably not, but we weren't letting them burst through like we were at the Valley, so that was a massive positive for me. And a lot of that, as you said, is coming from those three working so hard. And Doc, no, he's not the prettiest player in the world. I'm sure he'd admit that as a footballer, but like, he does the dirty work that other people don't have the chance to do or can't do or don't want to do. There's plenty of times yesterday where he's harrying people, like winning the ball back. And obviously, Nathan Jones seems more than we do in the sense of what the leadership he can provide on the pitch as well. So no, I'm pleased for him. I think, it was a weird era of him not being involved in the side at all. And no, it's good. I feel like he really helped yesterday. Obviously, it's a new combination with Cody being in there as well. And like, you could argue set all harsh on Coventry and what about ranking Costello and all that and the other. And I think, to be fair, when Coventry came on yesterday, it was fine. He did a good job. I think he tried to get a cross in at one point, actually. I was like, what are you doing up there? I was so confused. But no, I like this blend at the moment. Did I think Cody had the best game yesterday? No, I think his other games, particularly at Leicester, were better. But they did the job, as you said, Louis. Like, we weren't going to go there yesterday, and we weren't going to be on top. We weren't going to be the ones dominating, and we did the job. So no, I'm pleased. It's been good. I think the thing about Doc, particularly in that goal, was that they had the patience to wait. I think in the first half we were sort of rushing to do things, and that was our downfall. Whereas we really took that time to really pass the ball around the box, and Doc really helped engineer that sort of battle. And actually, I listened back to the highlights this morning, and it's either F off or it's don't back off when we're passing around the ball around the box coming from the Southampton end. And obviously we know how that ends with Carey having a shot on it going in. So, yeah, I think that level-headedness is something that I really admire about Doc. So, yeah, we definitely needed that yesterday. And hopefully he was one of those people that was saying, after we conceded, we don't need to go panic stations here. It's going to be fine. So, yeah, very pleased with how that midfield's going at the moment.
Yeah, you mentioned Cody as well there, walking around with concussion, I suspect, after Harwood Bellis, and he took his head clean off his shoulders with that savage assault midway through the second half. I did watch it back on one of the YouTubers this morning, and Cody obviously makes a massive deal of it. It's not at the time. I was like, oh, I wonder if there's anything in that. But yeah, it didn't really look like there was much in that one at all, really. Dudley says, as Nathan says, it's all about us being the best version of ourselves, which was probably the Ipswich game as an example. I mean, Ipswich, to be fair, it's funny how these things pan out, but the first half at Ipswich was, was like yesterday's first half, but even worse, even harder. But we held on, and then obviously scored 3 goals in the second half. Stephen says, don't care about the stats during a game. What's important at the final whistle, we either have a point or 3 points. That's all I really care about. All hell let loose says, this season, survival in the Championship will be down to good defending. In the summer, we'll continue to build a Championship side, and perhaps Nathan's tactics will change. We'll see. I mean, he's spoken about that a lot, really, hasn't he, Nathan, about the side, how it will evolve with transfer windows, but got to get there first, got to get to the survival point, which I'm still confident in, but we'll see. Then Norm, who Tash hates because he works for South Western Rails himself, says, we are building and never going to be a gung-ho side. Hopefully, we'll stay up and see a more attacking side next season. Just before we hear from Nathan, we haven't really mentioned big Colin Sichenje. Tom, we're going to hear from him later on in the show. It was his debut. up against Sichenje, I mean, if I was being thrown into my Championship debut, I'd ask for maybe a slightly easier start, but grew into it. I think I said to Nathan, he handled it well. But to be fair, I think the better way of phrasing it would be grew into it, because that first sort of 25 minutes was quite difficult. Gave away 3 fouls. They were going down quite easily, but at the same time, I was surprised the referee hadn't given him a yellow card at that point. If it was Tuesday's referee, would have sent him off and possibly looked to have him banned from the game for the rest of his life, because he gave away 3 fouls. But what did you make of him? You know, like I say, it's a big one to be coming into, but certainly grew into it.
I don't think we're in any sort of position to start criticising him, are we? Because we'll be in trouble then if we say anything negative. But no, I was surprised he didn't get booked. Same as you. I thought after the 3rd foul, maybe that was going to happen. But obviously, I'm glad he didn't. Yeah, I agree with you. I think he grew into it. As you say, he had probably their best player or most creative player up against him one-on-one a few times. And yes, he struggled in that first half, but he grew into it. He made a couple of good challenges. There was a really good, strong challenge in the second half. I remember when a ball was played forward, and he come in and crunched one of their players. Won a lot of headers, won a lot of duels. You know, did all the boring stuff as well. Stayed in shape, all of that good stuff. So yeah, I think Nathan Jones said, look, we brought him in because we think he's Championship ready. And so it proved yesterday. You know, we've gone up against a side who won a lot of games recently, who play expansive football, who, as I said earlier, their attacking line is worth a lot of money, and they're very, very good players. And he's handled himself fine. So yeah, for a debut, I was surprised that was the game he chucked him into. But I thought he came through it well. I thought, yeah, held his shape well, made some good tackles, and it's all about building on that now. The experience will come now, and yeah, I was impressed. I'm not sure he was man of the match, but you know. It is what it is. Yeah,
the man of the match vote on Twitter has been hijacked by his compatriots, and I think someone pointed out in our group chat that there was normally on the man of the match vote on Twitter you get about 2,000 votes, and yesterday there was 18,000 votes, of which like 90% have gone to Colin Sichenje. So he's certainly being supported by his countrymen. We'll hear from him later on in the show, but now we're going to hear from the Addicts boss Nathan Jones, who returned to St Mary's for the first time and picked up his first ever point at St Mary's. This is what he had to say after yesterday's game. Nathan, that's a huge point today. What did you make of it?
Yeah, it's a good point. You know, we learnt lessons from the first game. We were, 5 down from being open and gung-ho, and yeah, and these are a good side. Ex-Premier League side, got Premier League players. There's aspirations of winning the league and everything. So this is a wonderful point to come away. And I'm proud of the team because of the lessons that we learned from the first game. So no, it's a very good point on the road.
You can see the quality they have on the ball, but your structure was so good today to try and limit chances as much.
Well, we had to be. If you go out against them and you give them space, then they'll hurt you. And yeah, they will. But we defended superbly well. We had most of our opportunities or situations came on transition. But every time we did, we were brave and we played through them and had situations. It's just, look, when you come away, if you go gung-ho, if you open up spaces, then they will hurt you, because they are an ex-Premier League side. They are, probably the best squad in the Championship. So I'm very pleased with that.
Could be easy to crumble when you go a goal down as well, but your side don't tend to do that, do they?
No, I don't. Look, we let ourselves down sometimes, but it's our first year. Look at what we're coming up against. Look what we come up against, and I'm really proud, because I thought structurally we were good. Tactically, we had to be really good today. And look, I would have liked us to be a little bit more braver, shown a little bit more quality in the moments we had. Right at the end, we might have even nicked it if Miles could just play Kelman clean in. But look, would you have taken a point for the game? Absolutely. And I generally don't settle for points. I generally am brave and bold and stuff. But I realise where we come in here, and it's a very tough place to come. They've won the last 5. I can't remember the last time they lost at home. So it's a very good point.
It's a really good move as well, leading up to the goal for Sonny Carey. If you can work space for Carey on the edge of the box, he's got a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was the right opportunity, because we've said to him about playing people in and about taking shots when they're not on, but today he was, and he's been deadly from that. Mari showed bravery, stepped in, added a little bit of quality, and that's what we needed to do. We asked them for do the basics well. We asked them to be really aggressive, but then when we get opportunities, can we be brave and bold? And that's what sometimes you have to show, and we did that at times. Referee didn't help us out with 10 minutes of injury time. He kept everyone waiting, but look, it's a really good point.
Yeah, that last 10 minutes from the sidelines, it was nerve-wracking, but your side, they stood up to it, didn't they? Didn't give up any chances in that
Well, we
time.
didn't really. Only shots from the edge of the box you're going to get because they pack, they leave it, and it's difficult. It's difficult to play against a side like that, but they're a good side. They're a very, very good side, well coached, got quality everywhere where they bring off the bench, everything about them. So I'm very pleased with the point.
Seeing all the sides around the bottom now, including of yourselves, are picking up lots of points now. It's going to be a really fascinating sort of run towards the end of the season, isn't it?
Well, we can't concentrate on anyone else. We have to win the games that we need to win. I mean, we let ourselves down in midweek, and that's the frustrating thing, because that would have been a big win. That would have been a really, really big win, and we let ourselves down. And then today we bounce back and have a really tough place get something. So we've just got to concentrate on us. We've got 13 games to go. We got to pick up as many wins as we can, and then and then we see where we are.
Colin Sichenje up against Sichenje in his first championship game. That's a real test, isn't it? But he stood up to it.
He did, and to be fair, I thought the referee helped Sichenje out a little bit more than anyone. I mean, every time he had any kind of a stroke on him, he went down. Referee gave him free kicks and stuff. But I thought Collins was outstanding.
First time back here, how was the experience?
If I tell you how I really feel when I walk through the door at this place, then I might get myself in trouble. But yeah, nice to come back. Nice to see the grass. Yeah, nice to be an hour from home. Yeah, that's about it.
Can I just look ahead to Tuesday as well? Because obviously that's another massive one for you. And
they're all massive games.
Yeah.
They're all massive games. Against the thing. So another massive game. They're all massive. We prepare in the same way. We'll have a look at them. We'll be tactically prepared, and then we go from there.
It's a lot of travelling again as well, from South Coast up to the Midlands in a couple of
days.
Yeah,
we've been home. We've been home for 3 games, so that's part and parcel of it. It's not a massive journey here. The Midlands isn't a million miles away. It's not like we've got to go to Middlesbrough, but yeah, but no, we go there with a good point, and we have to back that up.
PSF Steel Limited is a trade supplier of steel fabrication and erection services to the new build, construction and refurbishment market in southern England. With their unrivaled depth of experience, they excel at providing their customers with high quality and cost-effective steel fabrication solutions. Their customers include national and regional house builders, such as Barratt Homes, Bellway Homes, the Vistry Group and Taylor Wimpey. They pride themselves on their service-based ethos and commitment to customer service excellence, which includes full technical backup and on-site services and support. If you would like more information, go to www.psfsteel.co.uk. That's www.psfsteel.co.uk.
Hello fellow addicts, I'm so excited to tell you all about our micropub, the River Ale House. The River Ale House is based in East Greenwich. It has 6 Pub of the Year awards, an ever-changing selection of amazing beer. It's owned by Charlton fans, walkable to the ground in just 20 minutes with buses that go direct to the Valley too. If your matchday routine includes a drink with your friends, you must join your fellow addicts in the River. See you soon.
Right, welcome back to Charlton Live. Just before the adverts there, we heard from the Addicts boss, Nathan Jones. On his return to Southampton, I think he was pleased with how things panned out there, Paul. I asked him about the return. He was really struggling to think of things he was pleased to see again. So he came up with the grass on the pitch, which obviously meant a lot to him.
Yeah, clearly so. I'm surprised he didn't mention the Seagulls and the retirement home band that performed before the game started as well. But yeah, no, look, he didn't have a good spell down there. He knows that, and there were always circumstances around clubs, and points in time, and depending who the owners are and where a club is, and so it just didn't work out for him there. But their loss is our gain ultimately, and he's found a home that we are very happy to house him in, and he seems to be enjoying it. But yeah, he is humorous. So it did make me laugh when he pointed to the fact that he really liked coming back to see the grass, bless him. But no, he seemed in a much better mood. Everything was just in a much better place yesterday, coming over to us fans at the end of the game. No need for the sort of emotional jab that one or more of our fans gave him on Tuesday. So yeah, the rhythm all just felt really good, and that's so important, because if it was good to get a point yesterday, I genuinely think that we are coming up to a bit of a 6-pointer on Tuesday, and so having the right momentum and psychology between the fans, the manager, and where he's at is so important going into that. We need to take that into that game and kick on, hopefully get something out of it.
Yeah, absolutely massive. We had an email came in from Ray. Says much improved performance yesterday after the Portsmouth debacle. Lots of fight and desire yesterday, plus the game plan designed to frustrate Southampton, which was well executed. If only we'd shown that desire against Pompey. Plenty of plus points. He says Sichenje had a good debut after a nervous first 20 minutes. The Ginger Ninja doing what he does best. Goalie that remembers he needs to stop the spherical object from entering the onion bag. Must have had extra homework this week and read Goalkeeping for Beginners. Whole team played well and gave a solid 7 out of 8 or 7 or 8 out of 10 performance. Now to West Brom, happy with a point just to keep the gap as it is. But if we can sneak free, we won't be far off survival, and then the pressure on the bottom three will become immense. I mean, the pressure. I mean, I was feeling the pressure on Friday night when I was sitting there watching the Blackburn-Preston game and they scored right at the end, Tash. We were all feeling the pressure as Leicester came from behind to lead at Stoke going into the last few minutes before our game, but happily Stoke got a leveller. Millwall, cheers lads for that one, losing at home to Portsmouth. I mean, who would do such a thing? But I mean, Pompey clearly on a run of form now. It's twice they've won in South London in the last few days. Even Oxford went and got a really good point up at Middlesbrough, which I'll take when we go up there in a couple of weeks as well. So it's looking, it's looking interesting down the bottom end of the table. We're still 7 points clear of the drop zone. We've gone up to 17th, so we're still in a very, very good position. Let's not get too nervous because we're not far off it, as Ray just said in his email. I think if we win at West Brom, imagine if we'd beaten Portsmouth now and we'd be sitting where we were. We don't need much more, but we still do need to go and get it. So we're in a good position, but as I said to Nathan, everyone's picking up points now. Everyone's fighting for their lives, and so we have to make sure we get the job done.
Yeah, I was very grateful to my Birmingham in-laws yesterday because they obviously beat Norwich, which put them below us. So I don't think they'll be down there, but I feel it'll help. So I wasn't complaining. I think, I mean, you can't rely on these other teams. We know this, right? But the human nature and the nature of being a Charlton fan after we've been put many times in this position is you do naturally look at what everyone else is doing. But having said that, you can't, hope and pray that every single one of those clubs below us, because there's a fair few of them, that none of them are going to hit any kind of form, right? There's going to be at least one or two that are going to pick up themselves up from the bad position they were in. Obviously, unluckily for us, Blackburn have got a new manager who seems to be doing well. Pompey's January signings, as we saw on Tuesday, are doing well for them. Leicester have obviously got Gary Rowett. I know, obviously, he was sacked by Oxford. So on the face of it, I was like, well, that's a bit of a silly appointment. But actually, you've got to think about Gary Rowett with a Leicester squad could probably do a lot better than the one he had at Oxford. So all these things, obviously, you're thinking, for goodness sake. And obviously, the Blackburn goal, right, it was at the 95th minute or something, wasn't it, against Preston, which is a terrible result for Preston, by the way. But having said all that, yesterday, I was just thinking, all right, it would have been lovely for Millwall to have done us a favour, but we can't rely on that lot, as we know. But, we keep chipping away at things. And as long as we do that, I feel positive. I think, going into Portsmouth, I was like, as long as we don't lose, I wouldn't have minded a draw. Obviously, that didn't happen. And then going into Tuesday, I'm thinking, well, a draw isn't a disaster, but obviously, just for the sake of us feeling a little bit less, tetchy, it would be amazing to get a win there. They are one of the clubs down there that just look completely devoid of confidence. I mean, I think I saw Rich tweet about it yesterday and just completely terrible, particularly in the first half against Coventry. I know it's Coventry, but Oxford went and got a point at Borough. So, you can get a performance and a result at Cov, and, they obviously just capitulated again. Obviously, let's hope that they don't sack their manager before Tuesday, because how many times has that happened to us this season? There's got to be a record or something if they do that. But I hope they keep Eric Ramsey at least until Tuesday night. I mean, to be honest, sacking him after Cov, I think, would be a little bit harsh considering they're top of the league. So let's hope that the Baggies owners take note of that and they don't sack Eric Ramsey.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, give him to the end of the season. You can't just bring someone in and sack him after a few weeks. Give him to the end of the season and let him prove himself. Eric Ramsey, he's come into a really difficult situation. Let him prove himself. And if you go down at the end of the season, that's when you have to think about sacking him. So there we go. Big Dom saying Leicester have appealed their 6-point deduction, but could end up with more. Yeah, so I mean, that could go one of two ways, couldn't it? That's the bad thing about these clubs that get themselves into financial trouble. These appeals and whatnot, they seem to take forever, and you never really know where you're going to end up. But it would be pretty galling if all of a sudden that points deduction gets reduced or disappears. But it feels like it's probably unlikely. But who knows? Who knows what will happen as we go into it? We have another email. Cameron says, a great result, but not enjoying the ride at the moment. When we go a goal down, I doubt there wasn't a Charlton fan who thought we could have got anything. But I'm in the Jones in camp. I think he is on target. Going to take my brother for a dementia test as he's Jones out. We're both in our 60s, fans for over 50 years, unlike a lot of people. He seems to have forgotten how crap we've been in the past. Yeah, well, it's one way of looking at it. Yeah, on target, I think it's fair. I mean, someone asked to see the graph earlier. If I find it very quickly, I mean, it's not really much that it tells you that the league table doesn't tell you at this moment in time, because it shows us sort of sitting above the drop zone, which is pretty much where we are. So yeah, there we go. As you can see, we're sort of on track to sit 55 points. So there is a discussion this year about what's going to be the actual amount of points. So 44 has been the average over the last 12 years to stay up, but we're not going to get anywhere. Like, we're not going to see sides staying up with 44 points this year. I think it's going to be a bit higher than that, but we're on track for 55, which should be enough. You know, last season Pompey stayed up by 5 points and finished 16th, I think. So if that's how it pans out again, that would be good. Yeah, Paul says it's arrogance from Leicester to try and appeal, and we'll see that. I wanted to ask, we haven't really spoke about Miles Leaburn coming on yesterday, Tom. Like I say, held up the ball for the goal. He's looked a real animal the last few weeks. It's a shame he had that 2 or 3 weeks off with his shoulder, because before that he was playing really well as well. And I just think he's a really important player for us at the moment. It's about finding the right time for him to play at the same time as Lyndon Dykes, and it didn't work in Tuesday. But obviously yesterday when he came on, I thought he looked really good.
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant yesterday, and we said it after Tuesday's game that it didn't really work on Tuesday night, but it had worked in other games. Obviously, I was talking a lot about the Leicester performance in particular, although I acknowledged that was against 10 men, but I thought they were excellent that day. And the opposite happened that day, didn't it? Because I think TC then came on, or was it Godden came on, didn't he, second half, and then really stretched Leicester in the second half. When we were talking about TC earlier, I obviously put in our little chat that I think TC actually did his job well yesterday, saw a lot more of the ball, drove us up the pitch. I agreed with Paul, his decision-making in the final third lacked, and he, you know, I think James Breen knew what he wanted to do, didn't he, as well, from his time here, so wasn't letting him cut in onto his right foot. But then when Miles comes on, I don't know if there was boos in the away end, but it sounded like there was at one point, and I wonder if people thought that it was the wrong decision or what, or maybe I misheard that. But obviously you go the two big men up top and you think, okay, how's this going to work? But actually, he won most of his headers, got the ball to feet as well, and drove us forward a few times, won a few fouls, as we've spoken about. It was just generally a handful and a nuisance, and that's what we want from him. I'm sure he'll be the first to admit he's not got as many goals this season as he would have liked, and obviously some of that has been hampered by the injuries. But yeah, I thought it was a much better performance from him. I thought Dykes throughout the game was very good yesterday. Yeah, and we've not got that 20 goal a season striker in our side, have we? That's the problem. So you're just looking for them to make contributions, and if it's Carey that's getting the goals, then they just need to support him and contribute to that. And I absolutely thought Miles did that. I thought on the other end of all of that, Kelman, when he came on, I know he didn't have a lot of time, but was very, very poor. And that's really frustrating, because he's a striker I really want to kick on and I want to see do well. As I say, I appreciate he didn't have a lot of time on the pitch. But yeah, Miles and Dykes, the temptation now might be for Jones to start those two on Tuesday. And because they blow hot and cold, you just don't know what you're going to get from them. But yeah, if we just look at yesterday's performance, it was much better from Miles.
Lovely stuff. Right, it's time for the big interview, the one you've all been waiting for. Colin Sichenje made his Charlton debut yesterday, and we were lucky enough to have a quick chat with him after the game. So your Charlton debut in a 1-1 draw here at Southampton. How did you enjoy it today?
Yeah, the game was good, intense. It's a good opportunity for me to experience it. The lads, everybody worked hard for the points, so we just need to keep working and move forward, because so many games to go. So
quite an occasion to be thrown into against such a good Southampton side and up against Sichenje as well. Such a good player at this level. And how did you find that first experience at this level?
Yeah, for me, I always believe in myself, and I know I can defend anyone, so I keep on it and to keep working hard. So just try to be aggressive and help the team, and yeah.
You know, you're coming into a game against a side who is so good going forward as well. Defensively, you know, there's a challenge there to do, but I think overall the side will be pleased with how they've come out of it.
Yeah, it's all about concentration in the game and focusing, so I tried to follow the game, and yeah, in the end we got the results, and it's a draw, but we keep moving forward. So
your first experience of the English atmosphere as well. I mean, when you were coming off at the end, you certainly experienced that when you were walking around in front of the Southampton fans. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I think it's a good atmosphere to play football in, and yeah, it gives you motivation, so to push more, and yeah.
On the game itself, I mean, when you go behind, obviously it could be easy to crumble, but it was a really good battling spirit from the side to get back and take a really good point today.
Yeah, it was a good game because we needed to push on, even though we were behind, because the game was still on. So we tried to motivate and give energy to others and the team. So, yeah.
From a personal point of view, have you settled in with the lads and obviously into the country?
Yeah, the people at the club are nice. The lads are good, so it has helped me to cope up with and adapt quickly. So it's just to keep going.
What have you made of South London?
Yeah, it's nice. I like it, yeah. I think I'm going to like it more because everybody's welcoming and they are really helping me to adapt and be with the team, so it's nice for me.
You certainly got a big fan base on social media since you signed. I think I've learned a lot about Kenyan culture. I mean, that must be quite a lift, really, to see all your countrymen and women sort of supporting you overseas.
Yeah, it's a massive support from Kenyan people, and of course, at the end of the day, it's my career and I have to make myself proud despite everything going on. So for me, I just keep my head down and try to improve every day, and yeah, the results will speak for itself. So,
do you feel you're sort of out there representing your country when it's like that? Because they've given you so much backing. Do you feel you're sort of out there playing for Kenya in a way?
Yeah, it's massive. Even when I play in the Kenyan national team, they always support me. So it's something I don't take it for granted because they show me the love. So I always represent them well and try to improve in everything I do. So.
And just from a personal point of view, obviously, I guess now you're in, you want to keep your place in the team. That's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. It's just stay humble and keep working because there's a long way to go, and this is just the start of the journey. So, yeah.
And West Brom on Tuesday. I mean, that's a massive game. Obviously, two sides at that sort of end of the table. It's a really important one.
Yeah, it's an important game for us. So we play at home, so we have to fight and get the point. So. Now the focus is just to focus on the Tuesday game and try to recover quickly, and yeah.
There we go. That's Colin Sichenje after his Addicts debut, as Mark pointed out in the comments. I asked him early on in that conversation. All game I was getting Sichenje and Cienza mixed up, and I asked him what it was like marking himself, basically, Sichenje, but he up against Cienza. There was another bit. The interview went on for a bit longer with me and Rich. You can hear it on Rich's Substack, the full thing. But he sort of started speaking about how he grew up watching English football and how he always wanted to play in England. So I was like, light bulb moment in my head. I was like, so I asked him, did you watch us in the Premier League? Like, can you remember when Charlton were in the Prem? And he sort of said, no. And then I went back home and remembered how old he is. I was like, I know we got relegated when he was 3. I was hoping he was going to turn around and say, yeah, no, I just had a poster of Radistan Kishyshev on my bedroom wall. But he was so, you forget how young some people are really sometimes. But yeah, great to hear from him. Cedric said earlier, he still looks a bit raw, gave away a lot of free kicks early on, but seemed to work that out as the game went on. Said Dyke's impressed as well, looking like a good signing. So yeah, great to hear from Collins. Great to see that he won the player of the match vote. With quite a stunning landslide in the 90%, I think it was by the time that the Kenyans had found that tweet. So yeah, there we go. Right, we need to look ahead, Tash, as I said, to West Brom. So they lost against Coventry yesterday. They're obviously winless under Eric Ramsey. The suggestions are he's certainly under pressure already, which is ridiculous because he's obviously only been there for a few weeks, but that's the way football works. I mean, if you're sacking a manager after 2 months or however long he's been there, surely as the person who made the decision to hire him in the first place, it's not even 2 months. He came in on the 11th of January. Bloody hell. I mean, that's, if you're sacking a manager after 5 weeks, you've got to take some serious look at yourself, really. It's ridiculous. But he obviously hasn't worked out for them, and hopefully that'll be the case still on Tuesday night.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it was a bit of a gamble anyway from them appointing Ryan Mason. I think he could have done a job at Championship level. I don't see why he couldn't, but it obviously didn't work out. So for them then to go to another inexperienced manager, just automatically you're like, what are you doing? I know he managed in the MLS, but that's a completely different kettle of fish to the Championship. So I think even from the get-go, I was like, it's a very strange appointment. And it obviously hasn't worked out. So I can understand, that frustration that was there under Ryan Mason has just ballooned even more so under Eric Ramsey. And, I think they're doing worse than they did under Ryan Mason. So, they're now, I think they're in the bottom three right now. So, yeah, not a good appointment. But obviously, hopefully, I think probably Tuesday will be his last game in charge if he loses that. Because in the board's mind, as much as it's embarrassing for them to have to admit that they got it wrong again, do they really want to go down to League One? Like I don't even know the last time West Brom were in League One, or if they've been there ever. So it's certainly not been for a long time. So I think, especially because if I remember rightly, they've spent a lot of money, and like a lot of those players in that squad, like, they shouldn't be in the bottom three of the Championship, and I certainly wouldn't trust them in a relegation fight. I mean, I know they've got our mate Colin Grant and people like Christian Bielik even. I'm like, these are not players that you would be associating with the relegation battle. So, we'll see how they are on Tuesday. But to me, they don't score a lot of goals. They seem they are very leaky in defence. The fans will get on their backs instantly. I can think, judging off of their fan vlogs, if they go a goal down. So I think it's up to us to, it's going to be a different game, because you can think, yesterday was a great away performance from us. It was a very Nathan Jones away from home, battling point. It's going to have to be different on Tuesday, because I can't see West Brom really coming at us really from the get-go. Like they're not got the confidence, I don't think, at the moment. So it's going to be a different kind of game, I think, and one that hopefully will suit us well and we'll get a few goals. But yeah, I don't know what to expect for them really, other than just seeing a side that's a bit, void of confidence at the moment.
Yeah, that's what Sam says. We definitely need to take advantage of their low confidence. Tom, from our point of view then, so I guess the selection questions will be, does Colin Sichenje keep his place? I think Nathan, again, in the full press conference yesterday, explained the reasoning for doubling up on Cienza and having Ramsey and Sichenje there. So does he need to do that again on Tuesday, or does he make a change up top? Does TC start? Does Lieben come back in? How does that work? Is there any change in the midfield you wanted to see? Any sort of ideas going into Tuesday?
Well, normally he doesn't really change, does he, after a good performance? I wonder if he might, because it's a very different game, West Brom away. They're not going to have as much of the ball as Southampton, and as Tash says, they're very low on confidence. So I almost feel like we want to try and take it to them a little bit and start hard and fast, because if we can go a goal up in the first 10, 20 minutes, I know we don't ever seem to score early on, but if we could, that's only going to increase the pressure on them. A little bit like we tried to do at Leicester as well. So I can see TC still starting because of his pace. So up front, I can't see many changes. I don't know enough about West Brom defensively to know whether Clark, being a natural wing-back coming in, is better in terms of how we're going to get forward up the pitch, which obviously we didn't worry so much about on yesterday. So yes, there might be a change there, and Clark might come back in. And then the midfield, I think, largely will keep its place unless there's any sort of tired legs or anything like that. So no, I think there might be one or two changes, but nothing dramatic, because, as I say, Jones doesn't tend to do that. It will just be about going at them. I think it's a different sort of game, and yeah, we've got to try and hit them early, and try and get the crowd on their back as soon as we can.
Right, I've got to check out of this hotel room in 75 seconds, so I think we ought to leave it here. But thanks to everyone who's joined us this morning on Charlton Live. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Good point for us at Southampton yesterday. Of course, hoping for a good result up at West Brom on Tuesday. Massive thanks, Tom, Paul and Tash. Good to see you as always.
Cheers all.
Cheers.
See you at the Hawthorns.
Later.
Lovely
Yeah, exactly.
stuff. Yeah, I'll be there as well. So I'm Louis Mendez. Thanks for listening. There has been Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Still Limited. We'll be back on Thursday to look back at the game against the Baggies and to head to, I think it's Wrexham next week. So yeah, we will see you then.